Hi there, club members, especially those in Victoria. Well, here we are. Level 3 restrictions. We can only do some very small number of cases that are emergency based. Certainly not something to build your practice on or to even maintain your practice. And so what can we do moving forward? Well, step number 1 is let's meet with your whole team. Get everyone together. What you can do then is make sure that everyone's on the same page, have the same accurate information moving forward. Do look up the Level 3 restrictions and be very clear about what you can and can't do. Then look through your appointment book. Flag off the appointment times that you're going to need to delay and reschedule 6 weeks down the track. I think 6 weeks. I tried to find this information, couldn't find it anywhere. We haven't had that much time to jump on board with this, so we need to move a bit swiftly with it. Once the receptionist knows the patients that we're going to be rescheduling, and I say rescheduling rather than cancelling, even if you have to call them again in October, that's okay. It's important that when you do come back on board, you come back on board to a strong appointment book, hopefully. So flag everyone off, make sure the receptionist is clear on what to say during those conversations with patients. Again, something that you do and brainstorm together with your team meeting. The other thing to do with the team meeting is to determine what's the wording of the Facebook post that you're going to pin to your Facebook page telling your patients what's going on. And that same wording can be posted up on your website. I've done a bit of research around some websites and I was intrigued as to how few websites and Facebook pages had any updates about COVID, let alone moving to a level 3. Maybe you want to also educate your patients about the current conditions via email, mass email, and mass SMS too. Keep in mind that SMSing all of your patients does cost money. Emailing is a more effective financially path to take. However, not as many people open up their emails as read their SMS messages. Also, what message are you going to pop on your telephone? So make sure that people know that they can constantly contact you. We always want patients to be able to call us during business hours and get to speak to us. We can talk them through some of their conditions. We can talk them through to see whether it's an emergency or not. Are you going to have skeleton staff during this time? Have the nurse be able to fulfill the nursing and reception role, because it's not a time to overstaff the practice because we simply won't be able to afford it. And the social distancing that we're needing to do inside the practice, maybe it's a good idea that you do run on skeleton staff. If you do, leave that gap in between each appointment so the day isn't hectic and already stressful, adding more stress to it for the dental nurse who's also jumping out and doing the payment for the patient as well and trying to answer the phone in between. It is a time that I do suggest answering the phone is crucial. We want to make sure that we maintain our relationships with patients, indicate to them that we are here for them when they need us, and we want to be able to be on the phone with them. Take your time, be patient, explain things of what's going on right now, really listen and be mindful and thoughtful about what they're going through at the moment, because they're a bit panicked that they can't get their emergencies or their treatment done quickly. At this same team meeting, you might want to put aside a couple of hours for this team meeting. It would be also great to have everyone's input on how can we use this time productively. If you have anybody that isn't entitled to the JobKeeper and they're casuals, unfortunately, they may need to be put off until October. It is enormously hurtful to have to do that to staff members, that's for sure. All our measures that we take are to make sure there's a business to come back to at the end of this. What tasks can be done on-site at the practice, online at home? Let's re-establish these Zoom meetings which you may have had the first time around of the level 3 restrictions. And I'm going to be guiding you through the Zoom meetings for this coming week, but I'll also be providing you with a Trello board that can help you populate that at a team meeting of all the things that can be done, the ways we can continually improve the structure of the business, the systems of the business, while we are in this level of operation. Yesterday's live session took you through completing the documentation you need to be up to date with COVID. One of those things is the working permit that you give to employees. So if they are stopped en route or home from work, they've got their permit, their ID, they can show a police officer and that be okay. They have avoided any kind of fine. The other thing was the COVID Safe Plan. This is an Australia-wide requirement, and in order for the working permit to be valid, you need to have an active COVID Safe Plan. Look at the recording of last night's live session and you'll see that, and within that card, the attachments within that card and on the Club Hub website page, if you're not part of Trello, it's all listed there as well. There is the COVID Safe Plan template. There's also a version that I've partially filled out for you as well. It's all about getting your team members up to scratch in terms of their training around these different areas, and that can normally be a challenging space to go through. So I've also created a well-designed email that you can send to all of your staff members that take them through every step of training that they need. It may take a couple of hours out of their time. They can do it from home. They can do it from the practice. But it will allow them to move through this email in an elegant fashion so that they can sign the last page of the COVID Safe Plan, that they understand their responsibilities moving forward, and that is then an activated plan. I now want to throw to Charles Kovess. At this time, it can create a lot of anxieties with a lot of people. Am I going to have a job to come back to? Is my business going to survive a second restrictions 3 period? What am I going to do with my anxious thoughts that go a little bit crazy and go worst case scenario? So I'd like to throw to Charles now for some words of wisdom.
Hello everybody. Great to be with you. Thank you, Julie, for the invitation to speak to club members about being distressed, about being stressed, about coping with challenging times, about having a mindset that is either supportive or virtually destructive. How do we cope with these times? And we'll have different levels of expertise. So I'm addressing this to practice owners, to experienced dentists, and to the youngest nurse, youngest assistant in practices. The science and the foundation of the elements of stress, distress, worry, fear are the same for all ages. The essence of the message I want to share with you today is 3 words. Guard your thoughts. You must guard your thoughts. What does that mean? Well, any situation that we are in has positive elements and negative elements. I call it benefits and drawbacks. In my show, the Charles Kovess Show, there's a whole episode on this question of benefits and drawbacks. Let me explain what that means. If I said, would you like to win $20 million in Tats Lotto, most people would say yes, because all their problems would be over. And we all understand what the benefits are of winning $20 million. What are the drawbacks of winning $20 million? Most people say nothing. All my problems will be over. Let me promise you that they would not be over. You win $20 million, let me give you an idea of the types of drawbacks that you would have. Suddenly, you would have many more family members. You would have many more friends. You would have people asking you for support. And then, when you refuse to give them support because it's not what you want to do, then you will lose friends. You might decide to change where you live. You will move to a whole new area because you've got more money, and suddenly you're out of your environment. You are more worried about security. You then have to learn a whole bunch of skills to handle this money. Evidence shows that after 10 years, most people who have won a large amount of money have lost the lot. There are drawbacks to winning large amounts of money. And so when you see that every experience, the best experiences have drawbacks, then you can start to not not be so consumed with what you think the drawbacks are of the current coronavirus situation. Let me give you another example of benefits and drawbacks of something that mothers tell me is the best thing in life that's happened to them. They have children. I say to them, are there any drawbacks to having children? Oh, they go. And we all know, for those of us who are parents, what all the drawbacks are of having children. I have 5 children. Plenty of drawbacks, but plenty of benefits. Now, the starting proposition of every experience having benefits and drawbacks then leads to this idea of guarding our thoughts. If you think about what the drawbacks are of this coronavirus situation and you wallow in those thoughts and you haven't learned how to control your thoughts, you will feel stressed. You will feel distressed. You will be worried. And what are those types of thoughts that go on? Well, you say to yourself, well, I might lose my job. Then I won't have any income. And we catastrophize because this ripple effect of these thoughts goes into all of the worst possible things that could happen. And then suddenly we're full of worry, full of concern, full of stress, and we are no longer able to think clearly. This idea of understanding, we have to master our thoughts. We have to become disciplined about our thoughts, just like we have to become disciplined about the systems and the protocols within your dental practice. We have to discipline ourselves. We have to learn it, then we have to practice it. The same thing happens with our minds. I have worked with some world-class athletes who have not learnt this principle of, gosh, what am I going to do? How do I control my thoughts? When you know what you're going to be working towards, of guarding thoughts, it helps you then to say, well, what do I need to practice? Within your dental practice, you can start to go, okay, with the team, the whole team can have these conversations on a very regular basis to say, well, here's the stresses of what's happening. What's good about this coronavirus? What's the benefits of this coronavirus? And trust me, there are many benefits. In one of my passion points to ponder, I listed a long, long list of what the benefits are of what we are going through. One of the great things about living in Australia, one of the best countries in the world, and certainly one of the 5 wealthiest per capita, average wealth per person in this country, we have accumulated wealth in this country. If we had no income for a year, most people would be able to survive. People who own a house can borrow against that house. We have built up reserves. So one of the issues to contemplate is to stop catastrophizing that says, oh gosh, I haven't got this week's income, or next month I won't have any income, because we have got reserves that we can rely upon. It's not as if we don't have money today, we'll be starving tomorrow. This is the other element of guarding our thoughts. A great strategy for dealing with worry is to think, what's the worst that could happen? And many years ago, I had a wonderful counsellor who taught me a wonderful process of visualizing what's the worst that could happen. And I was going through some tough times in my legal practice. The government was being unfair in relation to one of my clients and was attacking me. And my counsellor, who happened to be one of my business partners, took me through the journey and said, right, what's the worst thing that could happen? And so in the situation that we're now with coronavirus, you say, well, what's the problem? What could happen? Well, I have no income. Great. So what would that mean? And you step down the road of, okay, well, if I have no income this week, it would mean this. And then if I don't have income for a month, it would mean I'd have to go on to unemployment benefits. And you visualize the worst that could happen. Now, the absolute worst that could happen is that you are left with virtually some house belongings, a motor car, and no money. You've lost no friends, you've still got your health, if you guard your thoughts. And then I say to you, what would happen if you did lose everything? Just like my parents lost everything when they came to Australia as refugees in 1949 after communists took over Hungary. At the end of Second World War, they met in a refugee camp in Austria in 1947, and they chose to come to Australia, not speaking the language, had one suitcase each. My mother was 16 and 6 months pregnant, My dad was 25. I say to you that you, almost everybody watching this video, did not start with inherited wealth. Most of us started with very little and we built up our assets. If you have done it once before, you are far more capable today to do it again. That if you were absolutely destitute, you had your friends, you had your family, and you said, right, what am I going to do now? I guarantee to you that you have the intelligence, the innovative capability, the creativity, and the drive to build up again what you've built up so far in your life. What's the benefit of this process? When you take yourself down to the worst, suddenly you realize that the worst that could happen, you can absolutely cope with because you've done it previously. You are far more capable today than you were at the age of 18. And if you're 18 today, good. It's another element to practice because you're starting again from a base that you are used to, because at the age of 18, most people don't have many resources. And you stop thinking, I will be unable to cope. I guarantee you'll rebuild quicker than ever before. You will be able to cope, and you will start to guard your thoughts by focusing on the benefits of rebuilding your life, if it got to that point. I want to talk about another element. Janice Joplin, a singer, with a beautiful line in one of her songs that said, "Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose." My parents learnt that as human beings, we have amazing capability to survive when we have nothing. And if you've lost everything, you are truly free. And when you imagine what that's like, which I have done this exercise on a number of occasions, it has taken away my own stress about losing everything. Go, wow, I've got all these capabilities, because when I finished law school, when I was 21 years of age, I had nothing. I could do it again. And if I don't have any stuff, if I don't have a house full of stuff, if I don't have properties, if I don't have investments, I am serious. I am genuinely liberated. I'm free. I'm free to make a decision and say, right, what do I want now to do with my life? What am I passionate about? So I want to remind you of this amazing capability that you have, provided you guard your thoughts. The last element I want to touch into this is that your beliefs create the reactions inside you that create your stress, your distress, your worry. And the journey of development of your progress as a human being is to start to look at your beliefs and ask this question: what do I actually believe about my capability? I've told you that you've survived so far. You clearly have a good survival ability. And so I urge you to investigate inside yourself your beliefs about what you believe about your capability. When you say to yourself, I believe I can cope with anything, part of the journey is to fake it till you make it and stop saying to yourself that I believe I will collapse in a big heap. You've done it before and you say to yourself, I believe I can cope. I believe I have friends who will help me. I believe I have family who will help me. I believe I can learn new skills that will take me on a journey, perhaps in a whole new environment, that whilst I didn't choose, like my parents, I was forced to go into it, but my parents thrived and you can thrive. As Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right. I urge you to examine your beliefs and learn how to change them. Obviously, part of my work in my coaching and counselling and the self-awareness and passion work that I do is to help people identify these beliefs. But at least if you know what you're supposed to do of investigating beliefs and making sure they don't trap you in a state of distress, you can deal with this issue and have supportive beliefs, not destructive beliefs. The last element that I wish to discuss is fear. What are the fears that are going on for you? And part of that ties into the worry, because as human beings we're driven by two emotions of love on the one hand and fear on the other. Most people say the opposite of love is hate. No, it's fear. And fear comes from our minds, and this is again why we have to guard our thoughts. All of us have fears. The exciting news is that we are born with just two fears: fear of loud noises, fear of falling. All the other fears that you have learnt in your development journey. My promise to you again is that many of your fears are illusions. And one of the great gifts of coronavirus is that it forces you to examine your fears, and you start to go, gosh, what am I really fearful about? And having gone through this step of saying, what's the worst that could happen? Suddenly you become even more liberated because you are not driven by your fears. Guarding your thoughts helps you control your beliefs. Guarding your thoughts helps you control and master your fears. Guarding your thoughts helps you to focus on the wonderful benefits of coronavirus. Guarding your thoughts enables you to embrace the freedom that comes from a reduction in assets. Freedom, just another word for nothing left to lose. And every morning when you wake up, you go, wow, what an interesting time we live in that is forcing me to grow, because you're unlikely to grow, you're unlikely to develop when you are in your comfort zone. When you choose to embrace the challenge of being uncomfortable, every day is an adventure. I urge you to think of your life in this way, that we are each living an adventure. We are each having an amazing experience in one of the best countries in the world with amazing support mechanisms. And whatever happens to you, you've already made it once, you can make it again. Happy to expand on any of these ideas in future sessions, or if you really want to go deep, then Julie will tell you how to get in touch with me. Hope this has been helpful. Love life and be passionate. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much, Charles. I got a lot out of that. I certainly hope that our members did as well. I'm looking forward to speaking to you next time. Please let me know if there's anything that I can do to assist in this process of lockdowns for you Victorian dentists. I'm very pleased to be able to offer whatever assistance I can through the club, and Charles is as well. And Charles mentioned through his presentation that I will provide details on how to get in contact with him. You can email him anytime at charles@kovess.com. And his phone number 0412 317 404. So we wish you the very best, and please remain in communication if you need us for anything. Thank you.